person in that person's position have realized what's going on. That's the standard. It's pretty low for legal purposes. So that's just my cautionary tale for you all as parents. I'm not trying to suggest that that happens at all, because you all are all here obviously interested in what's going on with your children, but just know that that law is out there, and the police and the district attorney's office take it very seriously. All right, let's talk about marijuana. Second most popular drug. And like the chief said, now they're figuring out different ways to smoke marijuana. They put it in cigars, they dip it in other things, so they have a cocktail of sorts. And our chemists at the laboratories that we deal with tell us that marijuana is more potent now than it has ever been, ever. And unfortunately, we're fighting this culture in music and in movies and on television where smoking marijuana is acceptable. And it's not only in movies and songs and TV, it's in other states. I mean, you've got states that are saying, you know, this is so acceptable, we're going to make it legal for recreational purposes, not even medicinal purposes, but for recreational purposes. And our kids are hearing this. They're thinking, well, hey, it's legal there. Why isn't it legal here? Well, you know, that's a philosophical discussion for another day. But the fact of the matter is, possession of marijuana is illegal in Texas, period. You can't go to Colorado and pick it up there in some head shop and bring it back to Texas and use Colorado as an excuse. Once you cross into Texas, it is illegal. The same thing with medicinal marijuana. That excuse does not exist in Texas. So if you possess, remember the definition of possession is just care, custody, and control. Doesn't have to be in your pocket. You don't have to have been the one that purchased it. If you possess it, it is illegal. It is punishable by up to 6 months in jail. If it's less than 2 ounces, it's more than 2 ounces, up to a year in jail. It's more than 4 ounces. It's a felony, and they're looking at going to a state jail or the Texas penitentiary. It's serious stuff in Texas. It's still against the law. So let me give you a scenario that should frighten you. Your child's in a car with some friends. Maybe they were smoking marijuana, maybe they weren't. They get pulled over by the police, justifiably, for speeding, running a red light, whatever. Anything one of us could have done. They get pulled over, and the police officer walks up to the car, maybe smells marijuana. Once the officer smells marijuana, that's probable cause to search the car. So they start looking in the car, and in the center console between your child and their friend is marijuana. Well, the law says that if they have care over it, custody of it, or control over it, that they are in possession of it, and they can share possession of that marijuana. It doesn't matter who owns the car. It doesn't matter who originally put it there. If they both have control over it, under the law, that is possession of marijuana. Now, at the end of the day, could somebody in that situation beat that case? Maybe. You might beat the ride, but you're not going to beat that ride downtown. And it stinks. I mean, it's the handcuffs, it's the back of the car, it's the county jail, where I learned today in a video the toilets are not private at all, because we had a trial that somebody did something in the jail, and we had a trial today, and so we had photographs of the interior of the jail. So it's not a good place to be, all right? And so it's very important to emphasize to your kids, and the whole reason that I'm telling you the stark reality of all this is so that hopefully you can walk away from here with some information that would be good food for conversation with your kids. You know, if you're like me, you've got your kids captive in the car and around the dinner table, and my poor kids, they've been hearing this stuff, you know, for years. They could probably give this speech. But the point I'm trying to make is, you know, you need to arm yourself with this scary reality so that you can have an open conversation with your kids, because it's important that they know how easy it would be to get in trouble. Even if they didn't intend to get in the trouble, even if they didn't, it was just a bad decision to get in the car with somebody, which leads me to this. I call this the rolling with your buddies law. Officially, it's called the law of parties, and this is what it says. If you are aiding somebody else in the commission of a crime, and it doesn't matter whether it is possession of marijuana or capital murder, if you're aiding somebody else in the commission of the crime, if you are encouraging them, if you are directing them, if you are abetting them, then under the law, you are just as guilty as they are in the commission of the crime. Now, punishment may be a little bit different since you're just going along, but if you are a party to it, as far as violating the law treats you just as if you had committed the offense yourself if you are a party to it. And so it's called the law of parties. It is, you are judged by the company that you keep, which is all makes it that much more important that you're in your kids' business and you know who they're hanging out with and you know what their friends are doing. Because it may be that they are associating with somebody that's breaking the law, and your child does not intend to break the law, but they're there and they're somehow appearing to encourage the behavior or aiding the behavior or directing the behavior, and they're going to get wrapped up in something that maybe they shouldn't have been wrapped up in to begin with. Another thing, and then I'm going to wrap it up because I know I'm short on time and I want to leave time to answer y'all's questions, is our controlled substances. It is illegal to have possession of a controlled substance or a dangerous drug without a prescription. Let me give you an example. Let's say your child or somebody else takes ADHD medicine, okay? If they were to give it to somebody else, that is against the law. It is a Class A misdemeanor for you to be in possession of a controlled substance that you do not have a prescription for. The flip side of it is, let's say you have a teen that has a rightfully prescribed medication that is a controlled substance, but they take the pill out of the bottle to transport it, maybe to a friend's house because they're spending the night and they need to take it the next morning, they put it in their pocket or whatever. And they get pulled over on a traffic stop and they have a controlled substance in their pocket and cannot produce the prescription. That is a felony in some situations, depending on what the drug is. If it's just a Class A, a Schedule I controlled substance, it could be just a misdemeanor. But the point is, it's going to result in a loss of some type of liberty, either temporarily when they're arrested or down the line. So here's the thing. That is another example how ultimately you might beat the rat, but you're not going to beat the ride, because it may be that once you were able to produce a lawful prescription for that drug, the case would get dismissed, but on the front end, without it, it looks like a violation of the law, and they would get charged for that in most scenarios. So if you've got a child in that situation, they need to either be transporting their controlled substance in the pill bottle, or they need to keep a copy of the prescription in their wallet for that circumstance. And never, ever, ever give those pills away to other people, because it's against the law. All right, let's see. Just a few miscellaneous offenses, and then I think I'm done with my time, right? Right? Real quick. It's against the law to trespass or notice that entry is forbidden. A fence around a pool that's closed, you jump over the fence and go swimming, it's a trespass. It's a Class B misdemeanor punishable by up to 6 months in jail. Fake IDs, it's a Class C, but it still could result in a fine, offense, and a loss of your license. Credit card abuse. Your child finds a lost credit card at the mall and he goes and tries to charge something on it. Felony. Looking at state jail time. And lastly, this was a new one on me this year, videotaping a movie at the movie theater is a Class A misdemeanor. Poor girl came through my court in tears. She took her iPad to the Hunger Games, the second Hunger Games movie, sat there and taped it because she wanted to watch it over and over at home, arrested and charged. Thankfully, her case was resolved favorably, but it's against the law. And so you see how easy it is to get caught up in it and to get charged, and you really want to avoid it rather than fight it at the back end. So I know I just threw a bunch of information at you. I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have.